The marketplace on Drellian Station was alive with noise, merchants haggling, buyers shouting, engines roaring as cargo ships docked and departed. But beneath the chaos, in the shadow of a cracked bulkhead and a flickering neon sign, a woman knelt with 2 children pressed tightly against her sides. Her name was Soraya. Once, she had been the mate of a Zerani craftsman, their home filled with the scent of warm bread and the glow of laughter. But the wars had taken everything: her husband, their dwelling, their savings. Now, only her children remained, thin, trembling, their eyes hollow with hunger. For 3 days, she had wandered the station's underbelly, hoping for scraps. None came. No one stopped. In this place, pity was weakness, and weakness was prey. But hunger had no pride. As the crowd surged past, Soraya pressed her forehead to the cold plating and whispered the words she never thought she would speak. "My children haven't eaten for days," she begged. Her voice was hoarse, broken. "Feed them, and I'll be yours forever." The words vanished into the noise, until a shadow fell across her. She looked up. A human stood there. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his clothing plain but clean. His face was sun-browned, his dark hair flecked with gray at the temples. His eyes, steady, brown, and tired, studied her and the children at her side. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he crouched, lowering himself to their level. "What are their names?" he asked quietly. Soraya's throat tightened. No one had asked that since her husband died. "Leora," she whispered, stroking the older girl's tangled hair. "And Tenel." The boy leaned against her arm, barely awake. The human reached into a satchel slung across his chest. He pulled out 2 ration packs and handed them to the children. Leora blinked, then tore into the package with shaking claws. Tenel clutched his, as though it might vanish. The smell of preserved grain and protein filled the air. Tears blurred Soraya's vision as she watched them eat. "Why?" she whispered. The man shrugged. "Because they're hungry." His name was Ethan Cole. A cargo hauler, he explained, running supply routes between frontier stations. He had little wealth, little influence, but what he had, he shared. That night, instead of leaving them behind, he guided Soraya and her children to his ship. The Ardent Dawn was no more than a battered freighter with a humming core, but its interior was warm, its bunks clean. "You'll be safe here," Ethan said, showing them a small cabin. Soraya stood frozen in the doorway. "I told you I'd be yours if you fed them," she said. Ethan's brows knit. "I don't want that. You don't owe me anything." Her claws tightened around her cloak. "Then why?" His gaze softened. "Because no child should starve. Because no mother should beg for scraps." He hesitated, then added, "That's enough reason." Her chest ached. She had begged to survive, but this human's kindness gave her something she had thought gone forever: dignity. The days that followed blurred into a fragile routine. Ethan hauled crates, filed manifests, and tinkered with the ship's aging systems. Soraya, out of instinct more than obligation, began cooking with his rations, stretching meager supplies into hearty stews. For the first time in weeks, her children laughed. They played in the cargo bay, chasing each other between stacked containers, their giggles echoing against the steel walls. One evening, as the ship drifted through starlit void, Ethan found her at the galley stove. The smell of spiced broth filled the room. "You don't have to cook," he said. "I want to," Soraya replied softly. "It reminds me of who I was before." She stirred the pot, her hand steady for the first time in months. "You've given us more than food, human. You've given us a place." Ethan said nothing, only nodded. But she saw the flicker of warmth in his eyes. Not everyone welcomed them. On Callan's Reach, a mining colony, Dock officers eyed Soraya's scaled skin and the children's sharp teeth with suspicion. "You harboring strays, Cole?" one sneered. "They're my passengers," Ethan replied evenly. "That's all you need to know." The officer snorted. "Passengers don't cling to you like kin." Ethan stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "And bullies don't last long in my company. You got a problem?" The officer backed down. Soraya watched in silence, her claws curling. Few had ever stood for her like that. Weeks turned into months. Together, they carved out a fragile new life. Soraya mended torn uniforms, soothed Ethan's tired muscles with her herbal salves, and kept the galley alive with warmth. Ethan taught Leora how to read human maps, Tennel how to fix a broken valve. They became a family, not by blood, but by choice. Yet Soraya still carried the weight of her words. "I'll be yours forever." Shame clung to her, whispering that she had traded herself cheaply, that her worth was nothing without the bargain of survival. One night, as the children slept, she found Ethan on the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You should know," she said, her voice trembling. "I meant what I said in the market. If you wish it, I am yours. I owe you everything." Ethan turned sharply. "Don't say that." Her spines bristled. "Why not?" "It is true." "Because I didn't help you for payment," he said firmly. "I helped because it was right. That's what being human means. We don't save people to own them. We save them because no one else would." Her breath caught. For a moment, the weight lifted. "You are strange," she whispered. He chuckled. "Yeah, humans usually are." Danger found them sooner than expected. Pirates ambushed the Ardent Dawn on the outer rim. A raider latched onto the freighter's hull, cutting through the airlock. Ethan shoved Soraya and the children behind a bulkhead. "Stay here," he ordered. "No," she hissed. "You cannot fight them alone." "I won't," he said. "I'll fight for you." Blaster fire ripped through the corridor. Ethan fought with a desperate fury, wielding an old rifle with precision. Soraya, unable to stay hidden, launched herself at a raider with her claws, protecting her children with feral strength. Together, they drove the pirates back, sealing the breach. When silence fell, Ethan was bleeding from a cut along his arm. Soraya pressed a cloth to the wound, her hands shaking. "Foolish human," she whispered. "You risked your life." He smiled faintly. "So did you." Their eyes met, and in that gaze, something unspoken bloomed. Trust, respect, something deeper than gratitude. Months became a year. The Ardent Dawn was no longer just a hauler. It was home. The galaxy's dangers remained, but so did the laughter of children, the aroma of Soraya's stews, the quiet strength of a human who believed in kindness above profit. One evening, as the four of them shared a meal, Leora asked, "Mama, are we safe now?" Soraya looked at Ethan. He nodded once, steady as ever. "Yes, my little one," she said, her voice thick with tears. "We are safe." And in her heart, Soraya knew her plea in the market had been answered, but not as she expected. She had begged for survival, but what she had been given was life, family, and hope reborn. "My children haven't eaten for days," she had once said. Now, because of a human's kindness, they would never go hungry again.